Across India today, there have been funerals, mourning, heartbreak, as the full horror of the Pahalgam terror attack, the targeted killing of tourists, the worst such terror attack in years and years, possibly since the Chitti Singh Pura massacre that took place almost 25 years ago. India is still coming to terms with all of this. And in the meantime, the Prime Minister's first public response has come. And it is a big warning, a big warning to Pakistan and to the world. Speaking both in English, intended for the global audience, and in Hindi, the Prime Minister said that India will chase terrorists and their backers to the end of the earth. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. Our continued coverage on the heartbreaking aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack continues. A terror attack designed at trying to drive a wedge among Indians. A terror attack where funerals and prayers have been held across India, in Kashmir, in the valley, as well as outside of India. There isn't evidently a state which has been left untouched. A naval officer, a young bride, a young child who's lost his father. The accounts are just endless, and it has been difficult to watch many of these videos. In the meantime, the Prime Minister has spoken, and the Prime Minister has given a very clear and tough and hard warning to Pakistan. These funerals are held, and you can see some of those images across India, from literally Kanyakumari to Mumbai, to Pune, to Haryana. It's funeral after funeral, heartbreak after heartbreak. At least 3 young new brides who have today lost their husbands, among them a naval officer, Lieutenant Vinay Narwal. That's his wife that you see at his coffin, vowing to keep alive the legacy of what her husband stood for. India is preparing for retaliation. The Indus Water Treaty has been suspended. Pakistan has responded with a series of tit-for-tat measures. The Prime Minister's statement has to be understood, decoded, and analyzed. And let me introduce our guests as we join the country in mourning the loss of lives in Jammu and Kashmir. Lieutenant General Satish Dua is with us. He's former General Officer commanding of the 15 Corps in the Kashmir Valley. He's also the general who led the surgical strikes right after the terror strike that took place several years ago in Uri. And therefore, he is best placed to understand what the menu of options India might be examining today are. Veteran diplomat, Ambassador Prabhu Dayal is with us. Welcome to the program, sir. This is going to be a phase of global outreach for India, preparing the world for what comes next. Strategic Affairs Analyst, Kartha is with us. Welcome, ma'am. There's a lot to understand here today. Shehla Rashid is with us. Shehla Rashid is joining us from Kashmir. She's an academic and an author, and we value her perspective on the program today. I'm going to start by playing the 2 statements of the Prime Minister, one made in Hindi, one made in English. I'll start with the one in Hindi. The Prime Minister says, "आप कल्पना भी नहीं कर सकते कि अब क्या होने वाला है, इंडिया क्या करने जा रही है." Take a look.
मैं बहुत स्पष्ट शब्दों में कहना चाहता हूं, जिन्होंने ये हमला किया है, उन आतंकियों को और इस हमले की साजिश रचने वालों को उनकी कल्पना से भी बड़ी सजा मिलेगी। सजा मिलकर के रहेगी। अब आतंकियों की बची खुची जमीन को भी मिट्टी में मिलाने का समय आ गया है। 140 करोड़ भारतीयों की इच्छा शक्ति अब आतंकी आकाओं की कमर तोड़ कर रहेगी।
आप कल्पना भी नहीं कर सकते what India will do next. Before I open the panel for comments, the Prime Minister made an unusual switch to English on home ground. This message was clearly intended for the global audience. Take a look.
Today, from the soil of Bihar, I say to the whole world, India will identify, track, and punish every terrorist and their backers. We will pursue them to the ends of the earth. India's spirit will never be broken by terrorism. Terrorism will not go unpunished. Every effort will be made to ensure that justice is done. The entire nation is firm in this resolve. Everyone who believes in humanity is with us. I thank the people of various countries and their leaders who have stood with us in these times.
All right, let's get opening remarks now. Janudua, I'll start with you. There are many testimonies that are still emerging, new chilling videos that show how the terrorists actually targeted people based on their religious identity, shot them, what they said. But the Prime Minister has given a very clear message. How do you read what he has said? Janudua.
Barkha, first of all, allow me to express my grief and condolences for what has happened to the families and to the whole country, actually. Yesterday and today, we've been seeing these mortal remains paying homage to, when Amit Shah paid homage to the mortal remains when they reached their respective hometowns. We are seeing outpouring of grief. I am heartbroken because as a corps commander, earlier as a commanding officer, I have sadly paid homage to many fallen heroes. Every time I did that. So I really relive those days. It's a sad day for the country. Coming to your question, I don't think the Prime Minister's, you said, how do you read it? So I don't think the Prime Minister's speech leaves anything ambiguous. Also, the Defense Minister's statement earlier, when he visited Kashmir, he also said pretty much the same thing. We will not only reach the terrorists, we will also reach their backers, their masterminds from behind the curtain, he said. That means behind the other side of the border. Now, my point is, when the Uri terror attack took place, it was soldiers. When Pulwama attack took place, it was CRPF Jawans. Not that any life is less precious, but those were soldiers who were in the business of risking their lives. These are innocent tourists, like you described. There are so many heartrending stories going around. I won't get into that. Somebody was on a honeymoon, somebody was on a family vacation, and they're from different parts of the country. And we've never had this kind of a tourist strike. You mentioned Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh was a community in Kashmir that was targeted. But today, and the timing is important because that time it was the US president, Bill Clinton was here in March 2000. And here, this is the vice president of the US is in the country, and Indian Prime Minister is in Saudi Arabia. So it has, that means a lot. The timing has been selected. I'm sure our response is going to be there, bold, is going to be strong. Can you just give me one more minute? Can I talk about the response? I'm just talking the broad thing. We can discuss it later. Now, thing is, our response is going to be bold. A start has been made by the CCS yesterday. Indus Water Treaty has withstood many wars, 3 or 4 wars that we've had. We've never abrogated or sort of held water as a leverage only because it's going to affect the poor farmer down the line in Pakistan. But that, be that as it may, enough is enough. And then we've actually taken that kind of a step for the first time ever. Other diplomatic strike has taken place, cutting down of the the defense advisors, the pruning down of the staff, cutting down of the visas. That and those, the diplomatic and the economic steps are always decided and announced and then applied. Military operation, the military response will come. I'm very confident. And nothing has been left to imagination. But military operations are first executed and then announced. However, beyond these responses, I think we need to have 2 more responses. One is this response to terrorists and terrorism, which is very important. But I think also equally important is the fact that the stories that are going around, it pains me to see, which is a fact though, that how Hindu males were identified and killed. And the terrorists have left some women and said, they haven't said, go and tell the army, they said, go and tell Modi. Everyone is given the same sentence. So there is something behind it. And to my mind, when body bags go to different parts of the country, we are already hearing some rumblings. Let that not lead. We have to be cautious that we let that not lead to a communal divide. If we get into those religious sentiments, then the terrorists have achieved their aims. So that is one response that we have to do. And the last thing is, over the last 5 years, tourism has improved, has increased so much in the Kashmir Valley, besides peace, development, calm and quiet, and the political process, that so many people have started investing in tourism. People have opened up hotels, homestays, people have bought cars and taking loans so they can run taxis. Last year, it crossed 2 crores. Now, overnight, there is no tourism left. This season, there is not a chance. What will happen to those poor people who actually invested and reinvested in this? So the government, the Union Territory of Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, the government also must think of that, because the Lieutenant Governor's statement was, I think, a couple of months earlier, that there are no recruitment to terrorists now. We should not get back to poverty. They should not get back to alienation. We should take care of this aspect. What are the solutions? I don't know. It's not my job. It's a political leadership's call. But I think we have to measure our responses in these 3 steps. Barkha?
Yeah. Yes, sir. I think you've been very, very clear. Like the Prime Minister, you have left no room for ambiguity. Military response will come. It will come on the terms that India assesses, examines. It is not to a calendar. It will be done in an appropriate manner. And yes, the tourists were targeted for their religion, but we cannot let the terrorists divide us on religious lines, because that is exactly what they want. We have to remember in this time also, and we'll play those testimonies later, a shawl wala in Kashmir who went running to help. We have his story. A pony wala whose life was lost as he tried to snatch the gun. And we have also seen something unprecedented. General Dua, you will know this. You've been on the ground. It used to be asked of Kashmiris, जब terrorism होता है, आप लोग सड़कों पे क्यों नहीं निकलते? आप वैसे तो निकलते हैं, आप क्यों नहीं निकलते? This time, in droves, candlelight vigils, across party condemnation, street protests. The street protests have been against terrorism. And that is something very, very significant. Ambassador Dayal, I want to bring you in now. I don't want to go too much into what Pakistan is saying. A tit-for-tat series of measures have been announced. But one important comment in response to the Indus Water Treaty suspension is that Pakistan sees this as an act of war. I'm quoting them. I think it's quite clear, without anyone needing to spell it out, that we are now in a phase of war with Pakistan. Call it what you will.
Thanks for having me on your show. Like General Dua, I would also like to begin by conveying my condolences to the bereaved families. I pray that the departed souls may rest in peace. These terrorists tried to send a message through the wives of the killed people that please tell Modi that we are doing this, etc. The message has gone to the Prime Minister. He cut short his visit to Saudi Arabia. He came back, and that sent the signal he means business. He had already sent the Home Minister on the very first day to Jammu and Kashmir. Now, what has the Prime Minister said? That India will be unrelenting in the pursuit of those who have committed acts of terror or conspired to make them possible. In other words, all options are on the table. I'm being asked questions on various channels. Will India do a surgical strike? Will India resort to war? My answer is all options are on the table and there is no option that is taken off the table. So, in other words, we will have a short term approach and certainly a longer term approach. What option will figure one, I cannot say. But these 5 steps which have been taken, that is to say, the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty, the closure of the Atari integrated checkpost, the revocation of the SARC visa exemption scheme for Pakistan nationals, expulsion of the military attaches from the Pakistan High Commission, and the reduction in the staff of the diplomatic missions, the Pakistan High Commission. These are immediate measures. But there is certainly going to be a lot of action which India will be taking in phases. That is the message which has gone across very clearly. Now, who are the people who stand behind these acts of terror? Who are the people who conspire to make them happen? I've always maintained that the biggest terrorist outfit in the world is the Pakistan Army. We often hear of Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen. These are the creations, the proxies of the Pakistan Army, whose policy is to bleed India by 1,000 cuts. I was posted in Pakistan 4 decades ago, and their generals would openly talk about how they will bleed India by 1,000 cuts, how they will take revenge for Bangladesh. Now, we will naturally not take things sitting down. Our response is going to be measured, and the Prime Minister has made it very clear in his speech that Pakistan will be reduced to dust. Now, let me just share a few thoughts with you in regard to what could be the longer term strategy. Of course, a surgical strike will not be ruled out, as General Dua would himself vouch, because he has led the surgical strike earlier. But you know, Pakistan is facing a lot of internal rebellion. There is the Baluch Liberation Front. There's the Tehreek-e-Taliban
Yeah.
Pakistan. And all these are forces which are fighting against the Pakistan army because it sees the Pakistan army as a perpetrator of human rights abuses against them. They're up in arms. I'm sure that as part of our strategy, we should now include supporting and funding these forces, like the Baluchistan Liberation Force, like the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. We should support them with funds, with material, with weapons, in whatever manner possible. Because without doubt, if Pakistan wants to bleed us by 1,000 cuts, we will cut Pakistan into 1,000 pieces. Pakistan has to be dismembered. And when it is dismembered, as part of that process, Pakistan occupied Kashmir will come back to us. We do have that objective. We will go about it. And I think the message from the Prime Minister should go
Right.
across to the Pakistanis that we mean business. No option is off the
You,
table.
you have made a very important point that India should now just embrace openly, say, yes, we support the Baluchi forces. There is no need to now be, to give them back, not just as good as they give, but much more. This is an important statement from Ambassador, and we'll explore it in a moment. I want to bring in Shehla. Shehla, people like you, people like me, General Dua, actually everybody on this panel, we have all spent a lifetime attached in one way or the other to Jammu and Kashmir. General Dua ki sari kitabein are rooted in the stories of Kashmir. You are Kashmiri. Ambassador Dayal has, and Professor Kartha have spent a lifetime on this beat. As a reporter, this is where I started reporting 30 years ago. This is where I'm still reporting. Is this something different? We have seen so many terror strikes. We have seen so many funerals. We have seen so many tears. But something feels very different about this moment. Is this an inflection point? Shehla, Rashid.
First of all, I would like to not only express my condolences, but also my apologies and my anguish to the families of the people who died or who were injured.
Why are you apologizing? As a Kashmiri, you say you're offering your apology.
Because they came here as our guests and they went back in coffins. Like our Chief Minister Saab said, I'm at a loss for words, frankly. We've all been crying. We've all been looking at the videos. It's difficult to look at them, but every now and then, like, new information comes in, new videos come in, new perspectives come in. Someone was forced to recite the kalma, someone was forced to take off their trousers, and it's so difficult to confront it, but also important that our society and we as a community are confronting it now. You must have seen these videos, where people are crying in the protests and we are crying, and it's almost as if, it feels as if the sky is crying. That's how we put it around here. So that's why I would express not just my condolences, but my apologies, because we were the so-called ambassadors of this Naya Kashmir. And we were the people who, sounded this bugle that now Kashmir is at peace. But this temporary reprieve that we had over the past 5-6 years, it was brutally breached day before yesterday. And yes, you're right, it is an inflection point. A very thick red line has been crossed. It is not a fine line by any means. It is a very thick red line. I'll tell you why. First of all, Baisaran is not accessible by road. Wahan koi road nahi jati hai. There is no concrete road to Baisaran. And then people who have to be evacuated, they have to be evacuated either on ponies or by foot. And there is a small gate that leads out of that meadow. It's a very large meadow. So even to cross that, you will have to run for like 10 minutes before you reach the gate. Gate ke bahar ponies, wo sare jo ghode hote hain, wahan pe hote hain. I was just imagining like the situation, because I go there hiking every year about Baisaran. I was just imagining what would have been the situation when the firing broke out. And it would have been a Karbala-like situation. Like, I'm just crying thinking about that. That, it would have been a stampede kind of situation. You can't just leave. You can't just take your car and leave. The information takes time to reach. There is no network in Baisaran. Like, that is the last place where you get any network at all. You go any further than Baisaran, you don't get any network. Information would have taken so long to reach. And like many people, like, why is the number of casualties so high? Because the nearest medical facilities, the nearest army facilities are very far off. So this was a very carefully, deliberately planned attack कि कहाँ पे करना है. It was developed पहले वहाँ पे कुछ होता नहीं था बाइसरन में, मतलब वो एक खाली meadow था. But after COVID, it was developed into this, amusement park kind of thing where there were zip lines and there were other kind of swings, etc. So there were around 2,000 tourists over there. So this is not an accident. This is very carefully attack. The attack is very carefully planned, and it comes close on the heels of General Asim Munir's comments that Hindus and Muslims are they cannot coexist. We are fundamentally different. Hindus are the antithesis of Muslims, and whatever else he said. And that's exactly what happened there. And that's why you see this shock. I mean, I've been around for about 35 years. I have never seen a protest against terrorists. And मैं आपको एक बात ये भी बता दूं कि कल तो सबने कॉल दिया था, सारी एसोसिएशंस ने, सभी पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज ने कल कॉल दिया था बंद का, लेकिन आज एक स्पॉन्टेनियस बंद रहा. So we are in a period of mourning actually here. So today was a spontaneous band. Nobody gave any call. And like all the shutters are down and people are just offering, like taxi walas are offering free service to the tourists. People are trying their best to I mean, it's difficult to like. There was this video of this lady who said, "Ki nahi, nahi, hum to aayenge. We will defeat the designs of these terrorists. Hum to Kashmir aayenge." But frankly, Barkha, if I were faced with her, I don't think I could look her in the eye. Because this happened on our soil. And finally, I would like to say that the government needs to demolish and completely dismantle this so-called TRF, which is the resistance front, which has claimed responsibility for the attack.
Yeah.
This TRF is an offshoot of Lashkar-e-Taiba, and it has been it is a mask it's like it has been masqueraded as a local resistance group, so that the
Yeah.
world can be told that, well, this is a local resistance group, whereas it's not. It's an ISI backed agency, so
Absolutely.
that needs to be dismantled.
Absolutely. Let me bring in this is the face of one of the terrorists that has been released by officials. There are other images as well. According to officials, there were two local terrorists and two Pakistani terrorists, but the TRF is most certainly a proxy for the Lashkar-e-Taiba, as Shehla Rashid said. Professor Tara Kartha, Shehla made the mention of Asim Munir's unhinged speech and joining the dots to that, a very communal speech on Hindus and Muslims. General Dua spoke about how this moment cannot divide us. But I am just thinking that as India's wargaming, preparing, looking at all the options in a heightened emotional state, but those who are planning this have to be very cool and calm. Munir is desperate for some credibility because he's weakened. The Baluchis, the attack in Baluchistan on the train basically diminished him, diminished the authority of the Pakistan army. He is trying to create himself as a rally, as this person who's standing against India. That's his game. How do we, other than military response, which as General Dua said is coming, how do we checkmate Pakistan for the long term? I think Indians are tired now of having a cyclical set of news headlines like this one.
Well, the most obvious one, the first thing just want to say this. Munir and Pakistan, where everybody forgot about them. Were we talking about Pakistan? None of us, nobody, not even Trump is bothered about Pakistan till they took one terrorist and gave it back to them. So,
Yeah.
this attack, Munir is on your show. He's back on the show. He's everywhere. Okay, Pakistan is back in his bargaining position. They basically will bargain their way out of this because you can expect US pressure, you can expect the Europe, everybody will condemn, and after a few months, they'll start the usual process. So that is what they're going to get out of this. How are we going to defeat it? There is a very simple way. We have to control the internal narrative so that the whole of India unites on Kashmir and unites on this. I'm sorry, we've had issues with Muslims and this and that. We have to stop this entirely. Use this incident to unite this country. That is the end. You say Pakistan, he says Kashmir is a jugular vein. Well, we'll just cut that jugular vein by making Kashmiris completely and absolutely part of our hearts. Because that is what they are doing. Kashmiris have shown. I think this is a 1965 again. This one, when Pakistan sent its terrorists down, they thought the Kashmiris will rise up and support. They didn't. And I think this is also happening again. The Kashmiris are not supporting this. They are coming out on the streets against it. Take full advantage of that. That is what will drive Islamabad out of its Rawalpindi. Sorry, they'll drive them up the wall. In terms of the physical punishment, in terms of getting after these guys with a hammer, I would assume the best option is the use of armed drones, right? That is precise. Collateral damage nowadays, nobody cares. In Ukraine, nobody cares, but we are still a highly moral country. We care about these things. We don't want Pakistani people being killed. You can use armed drones, you can use your standoff missiles, you have the capability. The question is, do you want to push this to war? Because that is what Pakistan wants you to do. The fact that these guys said go and tell Modi, picked out, they are trying to pull you into an abyss that you may not want to enter.
So this is the bind, ma'am, and I will take this to General Dua. How do you respond so that the message is clear, but that you don't end up playing to a script that they're provoking you to write? General Dua, I want you to think about that for just a second, because as all of you have mentioned, all of you, we cannot be divided at home. And therefore, it is also important to tell some of the tales of the local Kashmiris. We already
Yes.
know about one who died trying to snatch a rifle. But there's another viral image. You see a Kashmiri Muslim, and I'm mentioning Muslim because Hindus have been killed for being Hindu. That's why I'm mentioning the religion. He's a local and he's running down the mountainside carrying an injured person on his back. This is what he had to say about what he did. Take a look.
जी हम घर पे बैठे हुए थे तो हमारे घर में जो मेरी चाची है उसकी डेथ हुआ था तो हम उसी के घर पे बैठे हुए थे और हमारे साथ वहाँ पे बहुत सारे लोग जो ताज़ियत में आए हैं और खासकर जो पोनी स्टैंड का जो प्रेसिडेंट है मिस्टर वहीद वानी साहब उनको जब भी मैसेज आया तो उन्होंने मतलब अपने ग्रुप में भी मैसेज डाला कि बाईसरन में ये इंसिडेंट हुआ है कि उसी के साथ हम गए हैं। तो जब हम पहुंचे लगता है 3:30 बजे के करीब हम पहुंचे। हमने जहाँ पे जो वहाँ पे जख्मी देखा है उनको हमने पानी पिलाया और वहीद साहब और रईस अहमद भट्ट साहब जो वो भी यूनियन का प्रेसिडेंट है, ये घोड़े वाला यूनियन का प्रेसिडेंट है। तो हम सब मिलके वहाँ पे आए हैं। बहुत सारे लोगों को हमने घोड़े पे बैठाया है, जो चल नहीं पाया उनको हमने कंधे पे उठाया और बहुत सारे लोगों को हमने पानी भी पिलवाया है कि हमने वहाँ पे ये इंसानियत के नाते पहले तो इंसानियत है बाद में धर्म है। बहुत सारा नुकसान हुआ है कि पूरे कश्मीर के घरों में मातम छाया हुआ है। हम उनको रिक्वेस्ट करके कि हमको अकेला मत छोड़े कि आप ही के लोगों के से हमारे रोजा रोटी चलते थे क्योंकि पूरे कश्मीर के घरों में मातम छाया। अभी अगर किसी के घर में भी जाओगे मतलब यहाँ पे छोटा सा दुकान जो दूध बेचेगा कुछ भी मतलब छोटे से दुकान पूरे गली या मार्केट में पूरा बंद है, पूरा शट डाउन है। इसमें हम पुरजोर से निंदे करते हैं कि इसमें मतलब ऐसा कभी होना नहीं चाहिए। इंसानियत का मतलब मामला है, इंसानियत धर्म तो अलग है, पहले तो इंसानियत को देखना चाहिए।
देखा कि एक भाई का वो भी शहीद हो
हाँ वो भी शहीद हो गया था। तो हम जब वहाँ पे पहुंचे तो हमने मतलब 5-6 लोग उधर देखते वो रो रहे थे कि हमको हेल्प करो। फिर हमको देखा, हमारे आंखों में आंसू नहीं। हम अब उनको रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं कि हमको अकेला मत छोड़े क्योंकि आप जब लोग आते हैं तो हमारे घरों में चिराग जलते हैं। आप हमको कश्मीरी को आप मत छोड़े, अकेला मत छोड़े। आप हमारे भाई, हम हिंदुस्तानी हैं, आपके बिना हमारी जिंदगी अधूरी।
आपके बिना हमारी जिंदगी अधूरी है, आप हमें अकेला मत छोड़िए। And the really moving thing, Gerald, though at first I thought that this gentleman is a pony wala, he's a shawl seller, and he saw a message in the WhatsApp group that everybody should come forward and help, and he ran and he took this injured tourist to hospital with holding him on his back. Now these are important things to hold on to at a time when tourists have been targeted for their religion. Some have been shot where they couldn't read the kalma. All this has happened, but as you said, this cannot divide us. Now, sir, as the general who led the surgical strikes, what will be the challenge, the concern for the military, the security establishment right now? Ambassador Dayal says openly support the Baluchis. Shehla says this is a Kashmir, a moment we've never seen before. Tara says don't fall into the trap of the Pakistanis. What do you say?
Before I answer the question, a small comment to add to what Tara was saying. There is also this, the moment has been chosen. We heard the Pakistani chief's rant a few days ago, but also some of us didn't mention this fact that a Hamas operative came and met LET leadership. That was in the news. It happened not very long ago. And just like Hamas was losing their relevance, they wanted to internationalize or bring the spotlight back on them. And they did this. I have on their invitation, I had gone to Israel a couple of months back, and I visited that Nova Music Fest site and the kibbutzim where the carnage took place. It moves you when you see it was a very similar what happened on 7th of October. A very similar thing has been done by LET franchisee called TRF. That they did the same thing to tourists and not to Fauji's and not to security personnel. It was meant to create that impact because Pakistan's diminishing relevance in Kashmir was evident over the last 5 years and only increasing. Having said that, let me come to your question. So I think, like I said, firstly, the country should not sort of fall into their trap and get divided on these lines. And thank you for bringing this out, because what is going viral is that they identified Hindu males and killed them. The video that you showed, we need to play on this. The the Poniwala who tried to snatch the weapon, we need to play on that and also bring out the fact the way Kashmir. I don't want to take names, but opposition leaders who would never do that in Kashmir, they are coming out and condemning it. Hurriyat, for whatever it is worth now, has actually condemned it. Many Muslim bodies have condemned it. But within Kashmir, that outpouring of grief, well, agreed, it is their livelihood. But we are also losing, we never lost the sense of Kashmiriyat. Like somebody said, Kashmiris are very hospitable people. Whenever you went to a shikara or a sumo wala or a taxi wala, we found those people very hospitable, even during the heyday of terrorism. So we need to play out on this as a counter narrative, and I think we need to balance the thing. As to what Ambassador Prabhu Dayal said about the responses, well, that's a leadership call to make, but we are certainly on the threshold of some very bold decisions. After all, before the Uri surgical strikes took place, Mr. Parikar actually landed up that day, that afternoon. He was in my office. He actually wanted to go to Uri on 18th of September, but I sort of persuaded him not to do that, and we brought him to my office. Then and there, he gave some decisions. And yesterday, a day before yesterday, Amit Shah went that very moment. Prime Minister cut short his vision and come over here. So we are on the threshold of something that was never done before kind of moment again. We've already seen Indus Water Treaty was something that was never done before. So that is one thing. So I will have to leave the options to those in the leadership positions, because it's a very, it'll be a national decision which will have very long, far-reaching impact. So we have to think things through. Now, what Tara said, I would like to build on that. That yes, this is the time to play on this kind of a sentiment. That yes, we play on. I mean, the moment when today, if Kashmiri mindset is talking about hum India ke saath hai and all that, we've always, for the last 3 and 4 decades, I've been saying it openly, we need to replace this idea, in the mind space of the Kashmiri people, more so the youth, we need to replace the idea of Azadi with the idea of India. And I think that is the inflection point. There is a little sentiment which is there. We must capitalize on it. What is to be done, how it is to be done is a leadership call. There are many things that can be spoken of, but we must grab the moment.
Yes, absolutely. We have about 5-7 minutes left. So as I run through our comments, let's keep them a little brief so we can get everybody in. Ambassador Dayal, it's over to you. I think everybody's made the point. Manage your internal narrative as you send a message to the world. At the moment, India's outreach with the world will be involved in what? Because there is, Modi's message in English was for the international community.
Well, certainly India will extend its outreach to the world. We had been able to put Pakistan on the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force. Unfortunately, Pakistan was able to wrangle out of it because it got support from the United States, which thought it needed Pakistan in the context of its policy in Afghanistan. But we will have required to be very decisive, particularly in regard to how we handle the situation at home. Of course, it's correct, as you pointed out on your screen, that there is an outpouring of support and sympathy for the people who've been killed, and the need of the hour is for people to come together. But there are a lot of sleeper cells of Pakistan. The ISI operates a number of sleeper cells, and our intelligence agencies have their work cut out. They must locate these cells, because certainly an attack like the one which took place in Pahalgam certainly got some support from within the country. There were some sleeper cells, some people who were active, and they assisted these people. Now the intelligence agencies have to knock them out. This is a very important action, both in the short term and in the long term. But we have already indicated our determination. The suspension of the Indus Water Treaty, putting it in abeyance, is a very clear signal that we mean business. And,
sorry, General Dua wanted to interject. I think he wants to respond to something you've said. General Dua? Yeah. Sorry, General Dua's sound is up.
I need to leave to another channel. Yes. So thank you very much for having me on the show.
Thank you, sir. We'll reconnect with you. Ambassador Dayal, please keep going. Go ahead, sir. Yeah.
Well, I was pointing out that we have already sent across the right message to Pakistan. For instance, by telling them that the Indus Waters Treaty is in abeyance. Because, for instance, the Pakistani province of Punjab relies totally on the waters of the Indus for its agriculture. And Pakistan's energy needs are also met through the hydroelectric generation projects on the Indus River. So the message is clear: we are going to hurt you. Because this is what Pakistan has been doing in a very consistent manner. It has sent across every possible terrorist operation to hurt India in fulfillment of its objective of wanting to bleed India through 1,000 cuts. So, as I said, we should also hit back Pakistan in a very decisive manner.
Before I come to Shehla and Tara, some of the videos are just actually each one of them has been difficult to report on, difficult to watch. There is grief in every home, in every state. The funerals, the funeral you're seeing in Kashmir is of a brave young Kashmiri poniwala who snatched the rifle from the terrorist's hand. Those are the images right now on your screen. But across India, from Haryana to Karnataka, from Hyderabad to Haryana, literally there is no state where we haven't seen a funeral. In Gujarat, we have seen a young child. I shiver to think what this child has gone through. He lost his father. His father was killed on the eve of his father's birthday. And the child is now talking to the media about this religious segregation. It is very difficult to watch, but here it is. Take a look.
पहलगाम में घोड़े से, क्योंकि वो रास्ता बहुत ख़राब था। हम जैसे पहुँचे ना, हमें भूख लगी थी तो हम खाना खाने के लिए गए। अचानक से वो कुछ गोलियों की आवाज़ आई, हम सब भागे। इतने टाइम में वो टेररिस्ट लोग हमारे सामने आ गए और वो बोले मुसलमान अलग हो जाओ और हिंदू अलग हो जाओ, और हिंदुओं को सारे गोली मार दी, जेंट्स को, लोगों को। और बाद में वो कहीं गायब हो गए और हम भाग के नीचे आ गए, उतर के पूरा पहाड़।
बेटा कैसे लग रहे थे जो लोग थे?
मतलब वो एक दाढ़ी बहुत बड़ी थी, वो सर पर वो टोपी पहनी थी और कैमरा भी था ऊपर। बस इतना ही याद है।
क्या बात कर रहे थे बेटा? क्या बता रहे थे?
वो तो नहीं हुआ था। वो बोला बस मुसलमान अलग हो जाओ और हिंदू अलग हो जाओ। हिंदू को गोली मार के भाग गए।
पापा कहाँ घूम रहे थे?
हाँ,
पापा कहाँ घूम रहे थे तब?
घूमने उधर।
Now, for a child to see this, for a child to be shaped by this child, his father has been killed a day before his birthday. And I completely agree with everybody, all of you. We must emphasize the interconnectedness of Indians. That's what these terrorists are trying to destroy. But this child, I don't know. I had to think so much. Do I show this child? Do I not show this child? I wrestled with it. But the whole world has spoken to him, and it's there, whether I show it or not. The child's testimony is there, and he's gone through this. Shehla.
This is the worst part. These were non-combatants, and as I think General Dua or Ambassador Saab said, it is eerily reminiscent of the 7/10 attacks, because these were people who were just partying, and in Israel when the Hamas attack took place. And here also, even the people, there was a Navy officer, I believe, who was entitled to carry a weapon, but he wasn't carrying a weapon, unfortunately. And the security also in that area is really low, because it's just a fun place where people go. Like, nobody saw this coming, and we don't even know how to react to it, except just hang our heads in shame, really. Because you can see this child. I mean, the image that's playing right now, I mean, he said कि हम पूरा पहाड़ उतर के आए. It is a 1 hour long trek, and it's a muddy track. It's not these trails are not dry, they are wet, especially in this season. So it's not easy to even like flee, to even run for your life is not easy. So that is why I, on every channel that I've been on, I begin with an apology, because we kept saying that, now Kashmir has changed, and it's a Naya Kashmir, and things have changed. Terrorist incidents have gone down, but I don't want to say this, but I think it's staring everyone in the face that rather than going down, it has crossed a new low, which nobody saw coming. And the fear is that, I mean, at least my fear is that this is going to continue forever. Like, how are we going to like, are we going to arm every citizen? Are we going to place army bunkers everywhere in Kashmir? It's impossible. You can, of course, protect the tourist spots which are now, because these are, see, now what's happening is people want to go to offbeat destinations.
Yeah.
People, Gulmarg, Pahalgam, Gondola, everything is overdone. People want to go to new places. They want to explore new places. So maybe we have to amp up the security in the offbeat destinations, because we have been promoting offbeat tourism. But before we do that, I think we need to work on our security situation. So yeah, this is deeply shameful
Yeah.
and too close to
Yeah.
home, I would say.
Yeah. Tara Kartha, when you say we can't play to the Pakistani script, what is that script and how do we avoid it?
See, if I have to react, I will react at a time of my choosing and at a place of my choosing.
Yeah.
Right now, you've seen social media. Everybody's blood is boiling. And as a democracy, it's very difficult to control this. That's
Yeah.
why I keep stressing control the narrative. You've seen the
Yeah.
rubbish which people are writing on TV. So it's going to be difficult, but this is a PM, I think, who can manage it. Having said that, I think you need to really, what the PM is talking about is really getting out of all earlier plans and strategies that we have used, getting out of that box. So, somewhere I think that Baloch support can be open, not
Yeah.
terrorism, certainly not. It should be our open support to the Baloch, open support to Pashtuns, and say, where Pakistan fuels terror, we will help you to gain your freedom. Something like that, because this is enough. Enough is enough. This Pakistan's for too long, as I said, the world has allowed Pakistan to remain as it is. It sponsors terrorism in Afghanistan, it sponsors terrorism in Pakistan, and every single major terrorist attack anywhere has a Pakistani in it. Look at the stuff going on in the UK. So this has to stop. It has to be a full stop. And that is the only way we can do this, is by taking the world along with you. And that is where our diplomats are fantastic. We've got a fantastic leadership. But most of all, you need to set an example of your own to say that we are together, we will fight this together.
Absolutely. And Hashim Musa alias Suleiman and Ali Bhai alias Talabai, these are two of the four that have now been named by agencies as being from Pakistan, from the so-called resistance front, which all of you have established. And of course, it's accurate, is a proxy for the Lashkar-e-Taiba. It's a grim moment. It's a heartbreaking moment. It's a difficult moment. And it's a moment when the country must stand together. I've been thinking and thinking and thinking, what is the one thing we could do? And I know it's easier said than done, but I think of the words of that Kashmiri shawlwala who ran down the hills with an injured tourist on his back. And he said, please don't abandon us. And perhaps what Indians need to do, and I know it's easier said than done given what's happened and given what we've seen, is maybe we should all go to Pahalgam. Maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe what we need to do is show the strength as Indians to not. I know it's easier said than done, but as we look at these images, maybe that is what we need to do. We come out now. I'd like to say thank you to Shehla, to Tara Kartha, to earlier to General Dua and Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, and we leave you now with these heartbreaking images, anger and anguish, funerals across India. Thank you for watching. Take care.
He was a dashing officer. He was a outstanding and brilliant student throughout his studies.
उन आतंकियों को और इस हमले की साजिश रचने वालों को उनकी कल्पना से भी बड़ी सजा मिलेगी. We will pursue them the ends of the earth.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.